Hey guys, Marmalade here with Marmalade Outdoors and trigger warning. If any of these topics or tips or thoughts in this video trigger you, it may be because you're doing them. So don't get too offended. This is supposed to be fun. It is a serious subject, and I'll go over some of the things that are my pet peeves, but also it'll be in jest and fun, but they're also serious topics. But we don't want to make this too serious and have a good time with it. Oh, and lastly, stay to the end because I have a bonus pet peeve at the very end. So there'll actually be 11 in this one. The first one is, and these are in no particular order, and I'm going to say really quickly, of all the things that I experience on the trails, whether it's hiking or backpacking, this is probably the thing I'm the most passionate about. I don't know if it's my background in golf, but in golf, you have the rules of golf and also etiquette. They're unwritten rules, but I think it's important to know rules before you go out and play. And it's the same way on trail. When we're new at hiking and backpacking, how would we know the rules? I didn't, but I think it's up to you to learn them. If you don't know them, you can learn to leave no trace, the 7 principles, but also you'll gain it as you go, or maybe inquire with other hikers as you learn. But it's important. It's up to you, not somebody else, to teach you what the etiquette and rules of the trail are. So, okay, let's get on with number one. Number one is over-the-ear or noise-canceling earbuds. People who do this cannot hear other hikers. They can't hear animals. They can't hear if mountain bikers are coming by. This is important for a lot of different reasons. I guess another way to call this is situational awareness. What if you, in my area in San Diego, we get on trail, what if you come up to a rattlesnake? A rattlesnake really doesn't want to bite you, but it's warning you. How are you going to know that? So I think there's 2 ways to combat this. I would say either put only one earbud. People that do the Pacific Crest Trail put one earbud in so they can hear their music or podcasts, but also listen to 4 other hikers, animals like a rattlesnake. The other way is you could do the bone conductor type that go around your skull. And I don't have them. I have friends that have them, and I hear they're great, yet they're not in your ear. So you can do both things at the same time. All right, number 2 is cutting switchbacks. And man, is this one of my personal pet peeves. It really, really bothers me. And guess what? When you do this kind of thing, congratulations. You've saved a whole 10 feet and at the same time damage the trail and risk having, when we have harsh weather on the trails, having it all just wash away, which I've seen a million times on trail. And you may have damaged rare or, what's the word I want to use, kind of delicate kind of plant material. Switchbacks are designed to be able to cut into a steep up or downhill slope for you, and they are built and supported to support that trail in the weight of people. But when you cut through them, it erodes, and then you have just big erosion the next time you have a big storm. So try to be more thoughtful. I'm going to tell you a quick story. When I was a beginner hiker, I hiked with a guy that I was a brand new beginner. I was learning the rules, but he was a very strong, very fast, very experienced hiker, and he cut every switchback, and it drove me nuts. And even then, when I didn't know the rules, I kept telling him, don't cut the switchbacks. I didn't know the ramifications of it, but I just knew it wasn't right even back then when I was learning. So don't be that person. And my other thing is, why are you out there if you're just trying to make shortcuts to get it over with? Hike the trail. Don't ruin it for the rest of us, because at some point it's going to erode, and then it's either going to be in bad shape for a very long time or somebody has to come in and fix it. All right, the third one is poop bags for your animals. So I realize that some of the thought is most trails, when you park on the side of the trail, it's either a loop or an out and back. If your dog poops, and I like that you do take the time to put it in a bag and you set it on the side of the trail, but the premise is to grab it on the way back. But guess what? I see poop bags all the time in my public, more crowded trails, and they never get picked up. There's times when there's 2 people, in the parking lot, and there's poop bags all along the way, which means there's not enough people on the trail to pick their poop bags back up, so they left them. And who are you leaving them for? At least the poop, if it's not in a bag, can degrade at some point, but not in a plastic bag. So somebody else has to grab your poop bag. So really, the thing is, another suggestion I was just thinking about is, if your dog has a vest and carries just food and snacks and different things, make him carry his poop out too. I mean, it's the least that he can do for pooping on the trail. All right, 4 is in the same ilk, and that is hikers who leave trash behind. This does really bother me. This includes things like food wrappers, Kleenex, tissue, gel tabs, candy wrappers, and even orange and banana peels. The rule is very, very simple. This isn't hard, people. And that is, if you carry it out there, you bring it back. Everything, unless you get lucky and there's garbage cans out there. But even when you throw orange peels and banana peels, they take a very long time to degrade. They're an eyesore for people, and it attracts rodents and rats and mice and things that you don't want out there. So please carry everything out that you bring into your hike. And it's a thoughtful thing to do for everybody so we can all enjoy unlittered trails. All right, 5 is bad bathroom etiquette. Now, this probably pertains more to backpackers than day hikers, but there are some day hikers that do some of the things I'm going to mention. But yeah, it's probably mostly for backpackers. So I'll first talk about number 1. So most people are really good about, what's nice about being a man, as you know, is we can just pull over to the bushes and pee. But I have a friend that likes to just pee right in the middle of the trail, on the trail. And so I have asked him many, many times, dude, don't do that. And so it's kind of like, oh, I'm sorry, but don't do that. Pee off to the side, respect the trail. People are walking on that. You know, if somebody might just drop a piece of gear on the trail and now it's in your pee. So just for sanitary and courtesy, don't do that for guys. All right, so in going number 2, it's pretty simple, but follow all leave no trace principles. A lot of it covers this kind of thing. You know, when you dig a cat hole, look it up online if you don't know. There's measurements, the minimum measurements you should dig depth and width-wise. Sometimes, you know, if you're in the Sierra or somewhere where it's rocky, it's harder to dig that, but you have to find a spot that's soft that you can dig an adequate hole. And another thing that doesn't count is if you dig a little baby hole and then you go a lot and you have a mound and you put a rock on it. I've had it happen actually when I was at camp putting my tent up and I needed rocks. It was a windy night, kind of like today, it's kind of windy. And I needed some rocks for my stakes in the corner. I grabbed a rock and underneath was lots of human excrement. That's about as gross as you get. So not only did I gross out, but I actually moved my tent to a completely other area because the person pooped right next to a tent spot. So lastly, don't go to number 2 too close to campsites, the trail, or within 200 feet of water. It's very, very important because it can ruin the water that you might want to drink or bathe in, things like that. It can harm plants, things like that. So just be thoughtful about it. Again, study leave no trace. There's clear rules on where you're supposed to go to the bathroom and how to do it. So just follow the rules. All right, number 6 is oblivious hiker. So it goes a little bit with the headphones, the noise canceling headphones, but it's people that are, the way I have it here is incredibly slow. They're blocking the trail. They're hiking 2 to 4 wide. They take breaks on the trails. It's called being aware. You're not supposed to be taking breaks right on the trail. And if the trail's narrow and there's bushes or cliffs or rocks, you're not supposed to take a break right there, or at least get out of the way. But you know, everybody's allowed to hike at their own pace. So if you're slower, you have to be aware. If you're slower and you have music on or headphones or you're just not paying attention, I don't know how many times, a million times I've been behind somebody and I can't get past them because they're not paying attention. And I'm making noise walking, and then I've even said, excuse me or hello, and they still don't hear. So be situational awareness. When you're on trail, you know, if you are slow, if you're fast, then you're going to be catching up to people. But if you're slow, pay attention to who's behind you. Again, these are unwritten rules, but it's courtesy and thoughtfulness. All right, 7 is loud groups on a peaceful trail anywhere, or any trail, really, peaceful or not. I'm going to give you a quick example of the one I just experienced. I've experienced it many times, but last summer I was doing the Ray Lakes Loop, and I ended up, I had some complications with a medication for high blood pressure, so I went up to Kearsarge Pass, which was 5 miles and 27 or 800 feet up, whatever it was. And I struggled. I was supposed to do a 50-mile loop, and I told my hiking partner I had to turn around. So I turned around, I was really struggling, went halfway down the mountain, decided to camp, and I originally had 5 days free. So I figured, well, I'll camp, get the camping. I love to camp by this beautiful lake, and then I'll hike down to my car in the morning. So that's what I did. So I'm setting up my camp. I am in the most beautiful lake with a river going by in the Sierras you've ever seen. I'm about 2 miles below Kearsarge Pass, and those of you who've done it, you know you can practically see it up there. And I'm sitting there and I can hear this group of what I can guess as 20-something-year-olds laughing and screaming and yelling. And they're 2 miles away and they're above me. I'm in this pristine place that there's nobody anywhere. And for 2 miles, which is for them about 45 minutes, they're screaming and yelling, and it's getting louder because they're getting closer. And they're laughing and having a blast, and there's people going up, people come down, and you're single-handedly ruining other people's experiences. We don't go out for that. I am not out there to hear you guys do that. So I said something to him, and one guy made a smart comment, the other people apologized. And, you know, I don't know if they don't know better or they don't care. But again, all of these things are courtesy and thoughtfulness of others. You're not the only ones out there on any trail, so be curious and thoughtful. All right, this is one of my biggest pet peeves, and Bluetooth speaker. So music playing loud on somebody's speaker on the outside of their pack. Well, congratulations. You just made yourself the most annoying person on the trail. This kind of goes in hand with the previous one about loud people, but whether you're making the noise or your music, I see it a lot more on public trails than I do like on the PCT or remote places, because those people know the etiquette. But look, all this is common courtesy. Do you really think we go to the wilderness and the beautiful views and the effort it takes to take a day off and get out there and hike to hear your rap music or whatever it is you want to do, or your whole playlist? Do not do that, you guys. Again, if you want to listen to music, if you need that to get through your hike, which I've done here and there, put one earbud on. There's just no reason for you to be playing it out loud, and it's one of the rudest things you can possibly do on trail. And so many people are oblivious, you know, and don't really care about anybody else. Okay, 9 is poor trail etiquette. And this means that I have down, this includes general trail rules, such as not knowing trail right-of-way rules, not stepping aside for faster hikers, taking a break directly on the trail, acting like you own the trail and doing whatever you want no matter how it affects everybody else. Just like in life, a little common courtesy and common sense goes a long way and is needed on trail. Okay, number 10 is trail right-of-ways. And this goes hand in hand with the previous ones I talked about, but this is in my top 2 or 3 of my personal pet peeves. And I've experienced a lot on trail, but is not knowing the right-of-way. This is important. These are unwritten rules. Yes, there's no rule book for this, but there's common sense. I've said this before. In the United States, most people do not even know this law. I learned it because it was on my test when I was 16, and I had to try to teach myself how to remember this. But when you drive and you have a narrow road and it's steep, who has the right-of-way, the downhill or uphill? The uphill person has it. Because when you're going down, and this is exactly the same on trail, when you're going down, it's easy to step off, let the person go by. They're working hard, and it's harder to stop going uphill, and then you just keep going. It's the same in a car. The only way I could remember it on my test was, well, it's the uphill guy because he hasn't been there yet. He hasn't been to the top yet. That's the only way I could remember it. So just try to keep that in mind. I had an experience, I'm going to tell you, when I was doing the PCT, my 3rd year, I was going through Desolation Wilderness, which is parallel or next to Lake Tahoe. And I was going up to Dick's Pass, very steep climb, full of rocks. And I'm cruising. By then I had my trail legs, I was going good. And down comes, on the steep downhill, comes this huge muscle guy, no shirt on. He has his boombox, his Bluetooth playing super loud, covered in tattoos. And he's coming down the hill, and I'm slogging up this hill. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, is this guy going to move over? And he not only did not move over, he never slowed down, he never stopped, and he would have literally smashed into me if I didn't jump out of the way. And I yelled at him, don't worry about me, I'm only going uphill, and he laughed at me and flipped me off. So that's the stuff you deal with out there sometimes when you get into really public places. I don't use it as an excuse, but they don't know better. But my thing is, if you're going to hike, you're going to golf, whatever you're doing, you need to know the rules. Or drive, you have to know the rules. It's up to you. You can't speed and then say later, well, I didn't know that the speed limit was 60. You're required to know it and then do it. So just know that about the up and downhill. Uphill has the right of way. The last thing I'll tell you too, I was in my 1st year, I flipped up to Canada and was coming down through Washington. I hadn't seen somebody in like 3 days, and all of a sudden I started people, and they all smelled really, you could smell their soap and perfume. And all of a sudden I counted over 40 people coming down this hill, and I was going up this hill. It was really narrow with a cliff on one side. There's nowhere to go. And all 40, they weren't together, but they had, and I was like, where are they coming from? And I found out later there was a trailhead. They're coming down this mountain, and not a single person out of these 40 or whatever it was moved over. So with my full backpack going uphill, and I was in the middle of a 20-something mile day, I had to move over people that were playing boom boxes and just laughing and yelling, and nobody gave me the right of way. Nobody knew the rule and nobody cared. So just learn that right away. Okay, I have some written down for the bonus pet peeve, the 11th and final one, and this is bad campfire etiquette. So this is very, very important. Remember, poor campfire etiquette can not only be dangerous, but criminal. I'm talking about having fires during fire bans, fires in windy conditions, not putting out fires properly or completely, or even leaving hot coals all night after you leave camp, or when you camp or when you leave camp in the morning. One single irresponsible act can cause major forest fires that could decimate an area for a very, very long time, well past our lifetime. My quick story is walking through the Dixie Fire that happened a few years before I finished the trail. It was in Northern California. And at that time, I had slimmed down, and got my trail legs easily, and was doing over 25 miles a day. And with that kind of mileage, it still took me 8 days to walk through that burn. So that's the decimation. It actually was depressing to see it. When I would go up on a big mountaintop, when I could see far, it was the most trees I've ever seen. Every single tree that I could see was burned for 10 mountain ranges. I'm sure there was a few green ones, but as far as I could see, everything was burned. And it took me 8 days of that kind of mileage to walk through it. That's how big of an area. I think it may be our biggest, you guys can tell me in the comments, the biggest measured fire we've ever had in the United States. Is millions of acres. So it's really serious, and you should take it serious, whether you're in the backcountry or even at a campground. Lastly, on the fire thing, just like driving laws and golf etiquette and all that stuff, with the fire, look at leave no trace. Learn how to do it. For California, we have to get a fire permit. You can do it right now. It's free. You type in fire permit California, you can go in there, and it teaches you. It has like about a 5-minute fire video on how to be safe, how to put out a fire, things like that. Obviously, it's common sense, but some people, I guess, don't have common sense, and they don't really care. You guys know when you leave coals and things in there, it can actually, and you walk away from your fire, it can actually start a fire underground and start burning slowly the roots underneath, and it can travel and end up starting a fire over there. So the coals and leaving those long-term are very important. So make sure you can bury it with soil, and we'll drown it out and then bury it. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for watching. Have respect for yourself and others. Learn, leave no trace, and actually implement them. I've been doing a series of Q&A, so if you have some questions about any of this, or just questions you want answered on anything from gear to backpacking, the mental and the financial side of it, living in my car or road trips, any of that kind of stuff. I don't know if I said gear, I think I did, but just ask the questions down below. I'll give you credit on one of my videos. And there's ways to support my channel, you guys. Look in the description box below. I would love for you to become a patron. You can do it as low as $2. It's less than a cup of coffee a month, $2 a month, up to I think it's 20 to 50. But you can write that off. It helps support people that make content like myself and keep me doing this. So I appreciate it, and do some more adventures. I've got some stuff that I'm working on right now for the summer. Until I get permits and get the plan down, I'm not going to announce it, but I will make a video for that. But thank you for watching, you guys. Those are my 10/11 pet peeves that bother me. Some of them bother me, some don't, but they're all important. And just like I said, being responsible, courteous, and having common sense and thinking of others goes a long way out on the trail. Anyway, until next time, we'll see you down the trail. Bye.